Hi, this is going to be the 3-minute gourmet on roasted chicken. Basic ingredients: a great quality chicken, 4 onions, half a stick of butter. Don't worry, you don't need it all. Kosher salt, because we got to kosher it. Any kind of gravy or whatever, a cup or so, a half a cup for flavor. And you're going to need to get yourself either a plastic bag or a 4-quart container like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean the chicken. We're going to open it up, take the stuff that's in there. We're going to scoop some of the yucky stuff out. And despite what they say, we're going to wash the bird and then we're going to brine it. So here's the basic bird. We're going to pull what's out in the middle. And then here's everything you need to know about a bird. When you look in the back end of it, right where your fingers are back here, along the backbone, you'll feel these 2 red things. And you'll see them. They're right near the tail. And when you pull them out, they're like little pieces of liver. And they're disgusting when you eat them, so let's not eat them. We're gonna run our fingers there, take them all out, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna completely rinse this bird. First the insides, and then the outsides, and we're gonna wash them. And the reason for doing this is there's yucky stuff on birds, and it doesn't taste any better when you cook it. Alright, so here's the special secret. If you look inside the bird, you'll see that there's a membrane that protects the inside from the wings. And what you want to do is you want to take a knife and you want to slit it so that moisture from the inside of the bird can get into the breasts and can get into the legs. And you won't believe what it does to the bird. So the secret to brining is a half a cup and put it in a blender, because then your water is fully salted and you won't get little hot spots on the bottom of the pot, and you'll get the best brining possible. Now with my blended brine, I'll pour it into the cavity. And as disgusting as it is, stick this in your fridge overnight for at least 24 hours, never more than 2 days, and it'll stay well because it's got a high salt content. And if you have any vegetarians or vegans, cover it with a towel because it's really gross. So now you're going to cut up 4 onions per chicken, and it's going to cook on the stove. Start with a little bit of olive oil just to get it going. And then if you're so inclined, a whole stick of butter, which sweetens the inside of the bird. You won't actually be eating it. When all of this is browned, we're going to hot stuff the bird. This is also something that restaurants sometimes do. You get a little bit of mayonnaise, and right before we're ready to throw it in the oven, we're going to coat it in mayo, and since it's made out of egg, it all tastes really good in the end. You'll see. So the onions should get glassy. This after a little bit of olive oil and a half stick of butter. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put in some chicken broth. We're going to show you how to make fresh chicken broth from the carcass when we're done. But you don't have to worry. You can use any chicken broth, even from a box, the stuff that's not that great. Because what we're doing here is we're creating a hot stuffing that'll flavor the bird. We won't be eating any of what you're seeing here. It's just going to be used to moisten and flavor the bird as it roasts. So you want to keep boiling it until the broth that you put in is no longer liquid. It's okay if it's a little gravy-like, but nothing that'll run out of the bird. We are going to turn the oven to 425-ish. And if you have convection, turn that on. And we're going to preheat the oven. Okay, so now we're going to stuff our brine bird. If you recall, we opened up, we tore in through there so that moisture would get in. On the inside, remember, we removed those organs that sit down at the base, and we brine the inside so we have a nice clean bird. And then we put a slit where the breast is and where the legs are, and that way all the moistness of this onion mix will go into the bird. And we're just gonna stuff it. It's called hot stuffing because this bird has been brined, and that salt has killed bacteria. That's why it used to be called koshering by Jews in the old days, because it would make it fit for consumption. And then the hot brining brings the interior of the bird up to temperature. Now we're going to take these, this is the easiest way to do it. You just take these sticks and we're just going to pierce everything to get it all to close up. Because all we want to do here is bring the skin over the gaps so that we have a closed bird, and all of this juicy stuff will go inside. Now, I used to be a lot more careful about how I did this, and I would use string and I would make very careful, closing up of it, and in the end, what I've discovered is none of that matters. All that matters is that the bird is largely closed up, and using these little toothpicks will get that done. If I'm concerned about an opening on the end, I can just take some of these onions and shove that in and we'll be good. And now we're going to do the head end. It's definitely something you don't want to show your vegan friends. It's a little anatomical for some people, but chicken is delicious, and it made its sacrifice so that we could have good food. And we're going to do honor to this bird. And then this side's much easier because you just grab all the skin. Now again, this is a very good quality bird. If you go to Safeway and get yourself a Foster's Farm, it's almost like no matter how much cooking you do, you see that I got all the skin pulled up, and then I just drive that in and it's all sealed up, and that's it. Our bird is largely sealed up. Now, I'm a little anal retent about this stuff, and I don't like any openings. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shove a whole bunch of toothpicks into this and get this thing to close up, because I don't want there to be openings. There, that'll work. Okay. One last thing. This is a trick that's often done by restaurants and chefs, and some people may think it's a little disgusting, but we've got some mayonnaise, and what we're going to do is we're going to coat the bird in the mayonnaise, and just goop that stuff on, and this will keep the bird moist under all circumstances. What we're doing here is we're going to stick it in at a very high temperature, and we're going to sear the outside of the bird, and the inside of the bird has all that yummy stuff. Now some people, by the way, put honey on, but trust me, this is magic. So one of the beautiful things about this recipe is how many birds and how quickly you can make it. So we're done with the cooking now for the most part. Everything else is, actually, we're done with the prep. That's where all the work is. The cooking is easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop this in a 475 oven for a half an hour, and then drop it to 200 degrees or 190, whatever your oven can do, for at least 3 or 4 hours. You just put it in and forget about it. And when it comes out, you won't believe how good it is. One thing I want to be clear about, try to put the legs in the back, because that's the dark meat. Put the breast closer to the door where it's cooler, and further away from the blower if you have a convection oven. We're putting this in at 475 for a half an hour. We're going to set a timer. So you can see the high temperature of 425 has caused the birds to brown very quickly. Now what we're going to do is we're going to drop that temperature way down, all the way down to just below 200 degrees. And we're going to leave it there for hours. I'm going to start with 2 or 3 hours. And the one thing you have to remember is do not open the oven. Got it? Alright, these chickens have been in this oven at about 180 degrees for about 6 hours. And what we're going to do is take them out of here with the gloved hand. So these birds started at a high temp and then ramped down to a regulated temp of about 190, which is below where water turns into steam, so they can't get dry. Now we know that everything's going to be above 160 for 4 minutes. And if you want to test, you can just take your probe and put it where the bone meets the meat. And then we'll see what that says as it comes up. I have a slow one. I should get an instant one. But the second I hit 160, I'm done. And if you could do that on the other side. But we know that these are fully cooked. Okay. Here's the magic. Alright, we're going to do the cleanest clean out you've ever seen of a chicken. This is taking a standard Pyrex glass pan. And remember the bird that we just did. Okay, now there are the knife people and there are the scissor people, and I'm a both person. So let's do this. The purpose of this is to get this into that with everything delicious, and anything that's not for eating and delicious goes in that pot. I'm going to put some water in, boil it up, and that's going to make broth. Okay, here we go. Pull the sticks. Take this thing and throw it in that. Hold on. Okay, perfect. And we're just gonna throw it in this bowl. Okay. All right, we're gonna do this. Zip, zip. This is how you clean a chicken as quickly as possible. You see the leg, you grab it, and you follow that line all the way down, and you do that on the back end. You see the wing, don't need it, throw it in the bucket, don't need it, throw it in the bucket, and we're going to come in on the other side. Now here's what you get when you do that. You can pull this, you can run your finger under it, and it just lifts off like butter. So that's what we're eating, and we're going to leave that. But we're going to do that on the other side. We're just going to reach in and bam, it releases. Now we're going to turn this bird upside down, and we're going to take one wing off. Yummy and delicious. Keep everything you can. Cut the things off that you wouldn't want to eat. Anything in this bowl is what we want to eat. Okay, here comes the magic. What am I looking at? That's a breast, right? Okay, do you see it? Okay. So, you'll know when this is in your hands, but there's nothing there. There's just like, there's meat and then it ends, right? And when you just cut there, watch what happens. We're just going to peel that back. That's a delicious breast. And that, you get these little cheeks, the most delicious part of the whole bird. Those are reserved for the chef. And then nothing but stuff that you're going to boil and you're going to make into broth later. And that's it. We have a fully clean chicken, right? Maybe little bits here and there. Now, the quick way to do this is to not leave it as a whole breast. is to just come in, and here's where I'm a knife for the breast guy and I'm a scissor for the body guy. I'm declared. Okay, so if you run the knife, that's the backbone. So I'm just running the blade on each side of the backbone, and then once you do that, the meat just peels right away, and that's your breast. And that's what you keep in the bucket, because that is delicious. And then the bone, we're gonna throw in the refuse thing, and that's gonna give us, okay, that's it. Time for dinner. Okay. By the way, I use gloves. These are mechanics gloves. They're 5mm, and they protect you from the heat sitting in there, so much safer. So everything that was yummy went into the bowl that we're eating, and anything that was not yummy, that is not an onion except for that lone one, is in this bowl with this pot with some water, and we're going to boil it, and that's going to become the most delicious broth. That's a freebie.